This is a story about growth and renewal. Not long ago, all the talk was about the looming end of fossil fuels. But now it looks like much of that talk was premature. One of those who was steering his global energy company through the ups and the downs is Mike Wirth, chairman and CEO of Chevron, who says that what the industry needed all along was balance.
Whenever you talk about energy, there are really three things that matter, and this is whether you're a company or a country. Affordability, because energy that people can't afford doesn't change lives. Reliability, because reliability enables an economy to be built. And then protecting the environment. And in policy discussions or in business strategy, and if we focus only on one of those, we suboptimize on the other two. Well, I think there was a genuine hope to transition to a carbon-free economy very rapidly. And I think what that led people to miss was the reasons why the energy system we have today is in place.
Whenever you have balance, there are some trade-offs. How do you minimize the damage to the climate while pursuing the other goals?
The first thing you do is you focus on efficiency. The best way to find new energy is not to use energy wastefully that we have today. And so efficiency in industrial facilities, in transportation, in manufacturing, all really, really essential. The second thing that we're focused on is investing in technologies that we think hold the promise to reduce the carbon intensity of energy use in the future. So hydrogen is one example. Renewable fuels is a second. Geothermal is a third. Earlier this year, we started up our largest renewable diesel facility. We're the second largest producer of renewable fuels in the United States. Later this year, we will start up the largest green hydrogen facility in the United States using solar power to turn water into hydrogen. And that will have the storage capacity equivalent to 3 times all the grid-installed batteries in the entire United States.
As we talk right now, it looks like the demand for fossil fuels will continue as far as the eye can see. Do you think it peaks at some point?
Demand last year was the highest that it's ever been. Demand this year is up versus last year. Demand next year will be up again. Again, not because of anything our industry is doing, but the population on the planet continues to grow. There will come a time when the population on the planet plateaus, when development will have largely occurred for most of the less developed part of the world, and efficiency will have offset some of that growth. Different models give you different assumptions on when that will occur, but the important thing is once we reach that point, it's not like demand for oil will then drop off a cliff. The big consumers of oil are airplanes, ships, long-haul trucking. And so even as we find these new technologies becoming more competitive, we're going to have existing consumers of energy that will last for a long time to come. This is going to be measured in decades.
The global demand for oil is something over 100 million barrels a day. How long do you think that can sustain?
Well, we're closer to 105 million barrels a day today. We'll probably be close to 110 million barrels a day by the end of this decade. And then, some forecasts would have it beginning to plateau. Some would have it continuing to grow. OPEC has a growth out through 2050. The IEA shows a plateau beginning in 2030. Our view is probably somewhere in between those two. But that's still an enormous amount of demand in the world to be met.
Chevron specifically has positioned itself recently to be in a position to supply some of that with your Hess acquisition. Explain why that strategically was so important to Chevron and to you.
Well, we've got a strong growth profile through the rest of this decade. The Permian Basin just hit 1 million barrels a day. We've had global records the last couple of quarters for production. Hess brings with it a nice growth profile that extends beyond the next few years as we reach maturity on some of our big projects that have been starting up. Hess has some very talented people in exploration who've been quite involved in the identification and appraisal of the resource in Guyana, which is the largest new discovery in the world over the last couple of decades. So we're going to bring their talent, their experience, their insights, and blend it with ours. And as we move forward, we've got acreage around the world, and we're going to have some, a stronger team as we move forward to challenge some of our conventional thinking, maybe help us think about these opportunities differently, and I'm confident we'll get better results.
Can you get along with Exxon as a venture partner down in Guyana?
We partner to share risk, to share costs. And it's quite common, particularly on large-scale developments, We put our people together and we get the best out of the people from organizations that bring different experiences together. And we've got great respect for all the companies that we work with. I would fully expect that our team will be good partners with Exxon and vice versa in Guyana. Many of the people that will be working on this project are the Hess people who have now joined Chevron.
Chevron is much more than an oil company, it's a gas company too. Let's talk about natural gas. There was a time that was such a sort of a bridge energy, getting to solar and renewables. Is that still true?
I actually think it's becoming more true once again, or more recognized. As you bring wind and solar into an electricity grid, they have great strengths. Once a capital's been invested, the marginal cost is very low. But they're not good at providing baseload capacity because they're variable with the wind and the sunshine. You can't really turn the sun up brighter or make the wind blow. It is what it is. And so you need other sources of supply to provide level loading for the grid. Natural gas is ideal for that. It's much lower emitting than coal.
Give us a sense of how you think Chevron can help really contribute the power that we need for those huge data centers.
The demand is coming. In fact, it's already here. And we're talking to the biggest companies in the world that are investing in building these models. The two constraints that they have right now are chips, the GPUs that go into the data centers, and electricity. The US is in a race with China for leadership in AI, and both countries have strong technology bases and strong energy resources. The challenge for us in the U.S. is to mobilize our energy to support the growth in power demand. We've got a grid that is challenged in terms of putting all that power through the grid. So what we're looking at doing is building large-scale power generation off the grid where we can go fast, we can deliver large scale, we can take advantage of the abundant, low-cost gas resource in this country. So we're in deep discussions with several of the biggest companies working on this.
You have announced already a deal with Vernova and with engine number one. Where is that project? When will it first be online somewhere?
So this is what I'm referring to. We've got a site identified, a primary site. We've got some other sites that we're working on as well. We've got 7 of GE Vernova's largest turbines coming with delivery beginning next year. So this will be over 4 gigawatts of power generation.
When you talk about permitting, I do think about governments. Federal, certainly, with the administration, you say, but also state. When you talk about balance, how do you strike a balance between, let me pick names, Gavin Newsom on the one hand in California and Donald Trump in Washington on the other? They don't seem to see eye to eye on energy policy.
They probably don't see eye to eye on a number of things. Energy policy being one of them. And certainly we've got a long history in California, a large footprint in California. But the policies of the state have been designed to discourage investment in the traditional energy system and encourage investment into renewables and the next generation. We talked earlier about balance. My belief is California does not have the balance right. California is trying to convert the supply side too fast, and the demand side hasn't adjusted yet, and that runs the risk of creating shortages. I think President Trump is more of a believer in all of the above. He's certainly been an advocate for oil and gas. And I think his policy approach is more market-oriented and likely to yield the kinds of results that we're talking about in terms of competitiveness.
Give us a sense how you became CEO. What brought you to Chevron to begin with?
I had a degree in chemical engineering, and I got a summer job where I worked in engineering and really enjoyed it. In the early 1980s, in my early 20s, I decided to go to California. I landed with Standard Oil of California, which is what our company was known as at the time. And I found myself working with incredibly talented people on important projects around the world that blended engineering and technology with economics and business, and then with this geopolitical overlay that we're talking about. And 43 years later, I'm still doing it.
Looking back on your career, was there a formative moment that you look back on and draw from as you deal with crises or difficult situations?
I'll tell you the most recent one that I learned a lot from is COVID. And I had some insights that this thing was perhaps going to be worse than most people thought. And I was able to use that to begin to mobilize a response at our company before the rest of the world really recognized what was going on. One of the first things that I did is I called my 3 immediate predecessors, each of whom served as CEO for about a decade, and all of whom lived within a stone's throw of where I lived. And they had gone through wars, they had gone through terrorist attacks, financial crises, and they all had experience on dealing with an unexpected black swan type of event. And they were incredibly generous with their reflections on what they would have done differently, their suggestions to me on what I should do in response to it. And it was nice to not have to figure it out all myself.
You've been CEO for a while. What is there left for you to accomplish?
Well, we've got immediate integration of an acquisition. We're going through a large corporate restructuring, which is rewiring business processes and where work gets done. We've got a contract to operate in Kazakhstan that runs out in the next few years. Those would be some things that are on my list that still need to be taken care of.